say, He is God, the one and only, God, the eternally besought one. Meaning, God is the one and only, the eternally besought one. That the Creator of the universe is one, He is single, He is eternally besought by all creatures, and that the Creator of everything is He. That He is one in essence, and at the same time the reins of everything are directly in His hand. The key to everything is in His grasp. One thing cannot be an obstacle to another. One task does not hinder another. So how does He do all things at once? He does all things at once by Himself. There is no intermediary. You know He does it without any helper or partner. We should know this. You know this, but I wanted to emphasize it once more. And you say that at the same instant He has total control over all things and all their states. That is, all possible states of that object and another object are within His view. There is no place outside His view. It is within His realm of knowledge. But there are degrees to this, and the positions of manifestation are different. The issues of manifestation. You know, they say emergent reality. There are things like that. They have to say emergent reality, because it truly appears suddenly. There is such an issue. But there is a prior stage. It doesn't appear. It exists in the realm of knowledge. What exists in the realm of knowledge becomes visible. How can such a really far-fetched fact be believed? In other words, all at once, with all the states of all things, with every detail, all particles and whatever is smaller than a particle, all their states, possible positions, in the most accurate way, independently or dependently, without any obligation, in an orderly manner, as if connected or unconnected to each other. Because they are definitely connected, meaning we just can't see it. How can a single individual be in innumerable places and do innumerable things at the same time with no difficulty? The answer, this question may be answered through explaining an extremely profound, subtle, elevated, and comprehensive mystery concerning divine oneness and eternal besottedness. Man's mind can only look at this mystery through the telescope and observatory of comparison and allegory. While there is nothing similar or analogous to God Almighty's essence and attributes, friends, the Master always emphasizes this. In His essence and attributes, not just in His essence, but also in His attributes, it is the same. In fact, this is not only in His incomparable attributes. Even in the attributes we consider similar, there is no example. God's making us taste a little of it is not to resemble Him, but to help us understand the subject. The functions of His attributes may be looked at to an extent by means of comparison and allegory. This is the subject. This is also the style of the Quran. It is the deepest matter in the form of parable and allegory. The Quran presents this matter to people's attention. The functions of His attributes may be looked at to an extent by means of comparison and allegory. So we shall point to that mystery through comparisons of a material nature. That is, with material representations, everything that happens in this universe. This universe is a book of commentary given to us to create representations to show the mysteries of the names, the mysteries of the attributes, the mysteries of His states of qualities of the Almighty. By practicing and comprehending on this grand book of the universe, one can understand the names, attributes, degrees, and states of qualities of the Almighty. From this, we form an idea about His essence. I'm not saying we can comprehend it. I'm saying we form an idea. In other words, you understand it better. Since this is how it is in the universe, friends, knowing how the systems in the universe work in terms of causality is very important not for jurisprudence, but for theology, for the science of knowledge of God. Today's science is crucial for us because it is the exegesis of the Quran. Because the intricate matters of knowledge of God are hidden in the fine details of this science, in terms of how it works. They explain God Almighty as representation. When you look closely, they say intuitive. In other words, intuitively. The book of the universe is that kind of book. If these details are not known, you will also know God Almighty only superficially to that extent. A single individual may attain universality or comprehensiveness through the means of different mirrors. In other words, through various mirrors. May attain universality or comprehensiveness. While being singular, it becomes multiple. While actually being a particular or part of something greater than itself, it is as though it becomes a universal with numerous qualities and functions. In other words, while being a single entity and seemingly capable of doing only one thing, it acquires a comprehensiveness that allows it to do countless things simultaneously. At the very least, you can see this in the optical laws of the universe. For example, you operate the television with a remote control. I can operate 10 billion televisions with one remote control if there are enough connections. Press the button and they all turn on. Indeed, matter like glass and water may be a mirror to physical objects, and one such object may attain universality in such a mirror. In the same way, air, ether, and some creatures from the world of similitudes are like mirrors to luminous objects and spirit beings. Those mirror-like creatures pass with the speed of lightning or imagination to become means of travel and observation, allowing the luminous and spirit beings to travel with the speed of imagination in those spotless mirrors, those subtle dwellings. In the space of a single instant, the spirit beings can enter thousands of places. And because they are luminous and because their reflections are the same as them and possess their qualities, they are as though present in person in every mirror, everywhere, unlike physical beings. The reflections and likenesses of dense corporeal beings are not identical to the corporeality of those beings. They do not possess their qualities and may be thought of as dead. That is, the reflection of solid objects, solid things in the mirror, is considered lifeless. It expresses itself only as an image, but luminous things are not like that. When light reflects off a mirror, it is still light and continues on its path. Its image also carries the same characteristics in a way. They suffer very little loss or none at all. It varies depending on the environment and the condition of the mirror. It depends on what you perceive as a mirror. Are you perceiving air? Are you perceiving fundamental particles in space? Are you perceiving a vacuum environment? What we call a vacuum is not empty space. It's quantum fields. This is not the kind of vacuum we know. They call it a vacuum, but it's not a vacuum. These have a minimum energy level. For example, although the sun is a particular and a single individual, it becomes like a universal by means of shining objects. The sun is a single entity at one center. Isn't the sun a central mass? A large entity, something 1.3 million times bigger than Earth. Despite being singular, it reflects itself in all shiny objects through mirrors, in a way, being present there with its heat and image. So, it's not just the image, the light, depending on the mirror's capability and size, is also there with its heat. This is very important. For instance, when you're combing your hair, not even a millionth of your 36.5 degrees Celsius body heat transfers to the mirror. But the sun heats the mirror from 150 million kilometers away. This varies depending on the time of day. It also varies according to the size of the mirror and its quality. So, there is a situation where it is neither the same as the sun nor different from it. For example, let's say you split the mirror in two. You can't split the sun in two. But if you split the mirror in two while combing your hair, you would be split in two. From the perspective of the reflection, split it in two, and you'd look like a potato. I mean, you'd be split in two with a crack. You wouldn't become two of you in the mirror. For example, scratch the mirror with a diamond knife, and you don't become two. But scratch the sun's mirror with the same diamond knife. The more you split it, the more suns you get. So there are that many reflections. These matters, which we call energy transmission over this energy of the sun, operate differently according to the laws of optics, through concepts that possess luminous qualities. It reflects its image, a sun like itself, in all shining objects, drops of water, and fragments of glass on the face of the earth, according to their capacity. The sun's heat, light, and the 7 colors in its light, a sort of likeness of the essential sun, is found in all shining physical objects. Let us suppose the sun had knowledge and consciousness, then every mirror would be like a sort of dwelling place or seat or chair for it. It would be in contact with everything in person. It would be able to communicate with all conscious creatures by means of mirrors, with the pupil of every eye, even each of which would be like a telephone. Because consider those reflections as its speech. The sun continues to reflect in its 7 colors, doesn't it? Consider that change as its speech. Consider that heat as its power and might. After all, isn't heat power? Isn't it energy? Who could object to this at this point? One thing would absolutely not be an obstacle to another. Here's the thing, place trillions of mirrors around the sun. It doesn't matter if they're big or small. The sun won't display battery low. It won't say, you placed too many mirrors, so I'm depleted, I'm finished. There's no such thing. In other words, the more mirrors you place, the more you simply multiply it. Whether big or small, no matter how many mirrors you place. Is there any obstacle in the sun's energy production or its reflection? There won't be reduction. Does one manifestation hinder another? I mean, I'm doing it in this mirror. Let this mirror stay for a 10 millionth of a second. Now in this mirror, then in that mirror. Ever heard of that? It manifests in all of them at the same time, right? Also, the manifestation changes according to the capability of the mirror. I mean, this mirror could be a drop of water. This mirror could be a petal of a flower. It could be a particle of the air atmosphere. From a distance, it could be the entire ocean of the sea, for example. That is a mirror also. Even if you place 1,000,000 Earths around the sun, there would be no decrease in the sun. One manifestation does not prevent another. And even if each one receives it in different sizes, the sun treats each one appropriately. In other words, there is no change in the sun. Let's realize this.